just like you autograph your checks when you go down to the bank. The clerk, you hand them your check, which is your vessel. She stamps it paid. She hands you money and does banking. You have to endorse the back of it because it's a bill of lading, a vessel coming to the port of the bank. In a courthouse, the vessel comes to the port of the court. The court takes the vessel and it docks the vessel, puts a docket number on it, and now you can call it a document because you paid to dock the vessel. Then there's a service docking fee. In the courts, it's I think $68 here, and in federal court it's $350. And when you go to the Supreme Court of the United States, it's a half a troy ounce of gold. And that's how they regulate what the docking fee is. So it's all about maritime vessels. Now, what exactly is the court? When you walk into a courtroom, this room here is my federal postal court today. We have documents signed, we have stamps on it, and we're explaining to you the mechanics of how this court process functions. The federal postal court can only do grammar. We can only syntax the words on the grammar for the fraud that is perpetrated on them. This becomes the forensic evidence that is necessary. Because when you hand me your mortgage and I have forensic evidence in my hand that a lie has been committed, and this is how many mistakes are taking place in every sentence, and then a lawyer wants to answer back to you and create the same lie, we have a conspiracy here. A conspiracy under Title 18, 1001, which is fictitious conveyance of language, Title 15, Section 1692E, which is false and misleading statements, carries a $25 million fine and 30 years in prison, Title 15, Section 78FF. Now, because you are depriving or stopping witnesses and evidence from bringing correctness to the court, this is called a deprivation. Under coloring of the law, that's Title 18-242. That carries a 15-year prison sentence and a $15,000 fine. Perjury is a $5,000 fine and 5 years in prison. Fictitious conveyance of language is a 10-year, $10,000 fine. When you take and you deprive someone and reduce them through trickery, through this kind of trickery, it's called racketeering or RICO. Title 18, 1961 carries a 30-year prison sentence and a $1 million fine. And because you send it through this goes through the mail, and the bank is sending you invoices which are fraud as this are through the mail and asking you for money, that's mail fraud. That's Title 18, 1341. That carries a $1 million fine and 30 years in prison to extort money through the mail. When you get done with this, you got a 62-year prison sentence and about $32 million total in fines that are going to be accumulated. All based on physical evidence. This is where you got to go out and prove you got a sore back or you got a bent fender on your car. These are written words on a piece of paper as forensic evidence. And these documents get bonded. You don't see a staple here because staple is not a bonding. It's a mechanical device. These are bonded with super glue. So you can glue it, you can stitch it with a sewing machine because the pilferation of the holes are like a fingerprint. Or you can rivet it with brass rivets. In 1998, I sent Janet Reno, Secretary of State Janet Reno, a letter about her false and misleading statements. She sent me back 2 sheets of paper with 6 3/8-inch diameter brass rivets to hold 2 sheets of paper together. She says, you want to talk about maritime bonding? Well, here's maritime bonding. Only person in my entire career, 34 years, that ever used brass rivets. But it just shows that she understood maritime law. So the bank goes ahead and they take your Social Security money and they lend it to you. The bank does not have title to the property. They do not have a note because it's been written in modified grammar and all the numbers are boxed. They don't have a contract because it's bastardized, written in fiction language. This is straight lines and curved lines on a piece of paper called ART, A-R-T, which is a vowel and 2 consonants, which means no contract. So therefore, if you put things in perspective, the end that when they're using their words called real property, RE being no contract and property being no person's contract, they're telling you, they're advertising to you through parse that we have no contracts here, that you are a nothing. We nom de guerre your name. Now, if you look up nom de guerre as a dead person, pseudium, and you look at the laws under maritime codes, can a dead person own land or write contracts? The answer is no, it's forbidden. So they go ahead and they bastardize the grammar, so there is no contract. And no is an adverb making a negative adverb, which makes contract into a verb fiction. Again, this goes into a vicious circle of modification and trickery and deception over and over and over again. And when we go ahead and we bring a correct parse syntax grammar document to the court, everyone's familiar with the date 12/21/2012? The Mayan calendar, the beginning of the end of the world. Thou was an adverb making end to be a verb. Thou was an adverb making world to be a verb. We ended the world of verb that day by ordering open Benjamin Franklin's Federal Postal Court, July 4th, 1775, retroactive under Title 42, 1986 for knowledge of a crime and the authorization to stop and correct it. Russell J. Gould and myself issued new oaths of office written in the correct parse syntax grammar. As two, we make corporation. And we also issued a new bank charter and a new court charter of how grammar will be used in a correct parse syntax grammar format to decisions on what documents are being filed in the court system. And by doing that, using physical evidence and staying within the confinements of our charter, we now have the correct basis to stop and correct